Howdy. Good to be back with you again. Tammy and I are going to be stationary for a while, visiting family. So we thought we'd get a lot of rig maintenance done. One of the things we've been having is intermittently we've been having error messages from our truck saying check trailer brake wiring or trailer brakes disconnected, which is a warning message. It's been intermittent, but it's slowly getting worse. And this spring, when we were coming out of Tucson, I had to brake pretty hard one time, and we got a trailer brake disconnected warning message, and we couldn't get it to go off. And I played around with it, and we finally did get the brakes to start working again. And then they worked fine all the way. We're currently in Indiana. So we had a pretty nice day today. And I have searched for how the Ram braking system works. We have a Ram 1-ton. Now, Ford and GM probably work a little bit different, but the Ram sends out a pulse width, kind of like a hello message, or keep alive, to use internet vernacular, checking to see if the brakes are still connected. And I was pretty well satisfied the problem was not with our truck or with the 7-pin connector or with the cable going into the junction box on our fifth wheel up in the pin box. I thought our problem was basically with the axle wiring, and several people have noted that your brake wires running through the axle tube have frayed, and it causes a short in the wiring system, and that causes our Ram truck to disconnect the brake system, which you got to have brakes on a 37-foot, 16,800 pound RV. Let's get real. Most likely, if you have a short system, you will get the trailer brake disconnected warning message. Not always, but sometimes. If you get like check trailer brake wiring message, it could be the 7-pin connectors come loose on your truck. Whatever. So what I did today, we had a pretty good day, and noting what other people have found with their wiring through their axle tubes, I took ours apart and I replaced the wiring going through the tubes. And what I found was what I showed you in part of this video, was that the wire was frayed and causing intermittently a dead short in the braking system, which would cause our Ram truck to disconnect the brakes. So I went and got a new 12 gauge wire, and as you see in the video, I put new wires across the back side of the axle with sealed connectors and protected tubing, tie strapped it to the back of the axles. And when I pulled that wiring out, then I saw the frayed wire there. So I think we're good to go. I'm not saying that all of the messages that you may get on your tow vehicle is caused by the axle wiring. It could be the 7-pin connector, it could be the cord from the RV running to the junction box, it could be the wires running down the frame of your RV. It could be the axle tube wiring, like it was in our case. So if you start getting this message, even intermittently, it's not going to resolve itself. You need to get it fixed as soon as you can, because you can't lose your brakes on your RV. So I spent the afternoon today replacing all that wire. Uh, I just went to a local hardware store, get everything I needed. You can also go to an auto parts store to get everything you needed. Sealed connectors with heat shrink that seals the connection when you shrink it up. Strain relief, like I showed you in the video. I encased the wires in convoluted tubing, tie strapped it to the axle. I haven't towed the RV yet, but I did check with continuity and everything seems fine. So I will check it with the tow vehicle just to make sure everything's okay. We won't get the message anymore, but I think from what I've showed you in this video, I'm pretty sure that that's what our problem was, and I've solved it. So if you start getting these messages, trailer brake disconnected or check trailer brake wiring, you're just going to have to do a process of elimination and troubleshooting. Most likely it's not your truck. Most likely it's either in the connector, the 7-pin connector that plugs into your truck, and there's an old style and a new style. The old style has pins in it that grab either side. The new style or a bigger blade. You can check online for what's the new style and old style. It's kind of hard to explain. But you need to check your connector. I would go back to your junction box where the cord connects to the trailer wiring. Make sure that's okay. If needs be, go down the side frame of your trailer to where the brake wires come out to the first brake assembly. Now we got 2 axles. And start troubleshooting it. You could even cut the wires to your back axle to see if the problem goes away. That's one way to isolate. Maybe if you think you've got an axle wiring problem, that's one way to try to troubleshoot it. Unfortunately, you have to cut the wires to see if the problem goes away. If you got a hard short, I wouldn't recommend that. And then try to pull your trailer, obviously. So you have to come up with a troubleshooting plan, a process of elimination to try to figure out where your problem is, because it's only going to get worse. And so, as I've showed you here in the video, we found our problem. So I replaced all the wiring in it, and I think we're good to go. One thing you notice is that the wiring going to the magnets, this is electric drum brakes now, it's 14 gauge wire. Now, most people and even some of the manufacturers like Dexter will tell you you should use at least 12 gauge. And that's what I put on our axle tubes. I have not replaced the wire, the 14 gauge wire that goes all the way up to the junction box. It's still 14 gauge, but maybe one step at a time. That's quite a bit of a work, especially trying to get up in our pin box to replace those wires. But start your troubleshooting, figure out what your problem is. Our problem, like I said, was with our axle tubes. The wires are running through the axle tube itself. It's a double insulated wire, but still it frayed in about 3 spots, and it was shorting out the brakes. So the truck would just disconnect the brakes. So find out what your problem is and get it fixed, because it's no fun going down the highway with no brakes on your RV, let me tell you. I wouldn't recommend it. Get it pulled off to the side, find out what the problem is, and get it fixed. But a little bit of troubleshooting, a little bit of education, and I'm sure you can do it. We've got quite a bit more maintenance we need to do to the RV while we're here stationary for a while. And I need to get up on the roof and do some work up there. We need to do some work on our awnings, and it's just regular maintenance, but we've got a priority list of things we need to get done, and of course the brakes were the first thing we needed to get fixed, which I'm pretty sure we've got done now. So thought I'd touch base with you, just let you know what's going on with us. And thanks for tuning back in with us, and you guys be safe going down the highway out there. We were coming through Indianapolis, and I ended up right in front of me was this big metal strap, and I couldn't avoid it. And you don't swerve around things when you're pulling these RVs. You could lose control of it real easy. So I had no choice but to hit it. And they poked a big hole in our J skirting down below. So I've got that to fix too. But you drive enough miles with these things going down our highways today, and let me tell you, you're liable to come across just about anything. Tammy told me a story the other day where somebody was pulling their toy hauler, and they had a big enough pothole that it tore up the suspension and ended up bending the frame. And the insurance company told it. Now that must have been some kind of pothole, let me tell you. But the roads here, they're terrible, absolutely terrible. And well, enough of that. Just be safe out there. Watch the other people, and like I said, thanks for tuning in, and be safe out there traveling.
Howdy. As you can see, I'm underneath of our RV, and I'm fixing the brake wires that go through the axle tubes for our fifth wheel. So I'll clue you in on the problems that we were having, and I want to show you what I'm doing. For now, you can take a look at this. I took the wiring out of the axle tube, and I spliced them back in with some new wire, 12 gauge, and used this convoluted tubing and tie strapped it to the back of the axle instead of running it through the axle again. And I'll show you, we had shorts in the original wiring, which was causing an error code in the truck. More about that later, but this is how I'm fixing it. Splicing the wires back into new 12 gauge wires, and then I'm tie strapping it to the back of the axle tube. You can see how I've got it tie strapped to the back of the tube. I'm getting ready to do the rear axle, and we'll see how bad that wiring is inside the tube. But like I said, more on that later. Okay, I got the back axle done. So you can see there's the front axle with the tubing, and I got this one done. So I've rewired the back axles. Put the wire behind the axles, like you can see up there. So I got it all done, all the wire spliced back in. I'm going to do a continuity test and ohms test. It was 1.3, 1.4 from the 7-way plug, but I'll check it again. But now it's time to get out from under here and talk more about this. Just wanted to show you this. You can see the frayed wire, the brake wire that was inside the axle tube. It's down to the bare wire, and it's shorting against the axle tube, which then causes a brake disconnect on our truck. This wire also has another place just like this farther down, and this is the front axle tube brake wire. The rear axle tube brake wire had a similar area where the wires are shorting out against the axle tube.
like I said, which causes an error in our truck, and it disconnects the brakes. We get a trailer brake disconnect warning, and sometimes it was very intermittent. But we were leaving Tucson, and it kind of almost got permanent, and I couldn't get rid of the air in the truck. Sometimes the truck would also tell us to check trailer brake wiring, and this is what was causing it. So you can see it's down to the bare wire, and this is a double insulated wire. So I got in and replaced all the wiring, and we shouldn't have any more problems. Once again, thanks for joining us. If you like our videos, you can subscribe to our channel. We'd appreciate any comments that you might have on our videos down below. On this specific topic, you can search a lot of the HD Ram forums. There's a lot of good information about how the Ram trailer brake controller works. One thing I didn't know was below 20 miles an hour, our Ram has diminished braking below 20 miles an hour. So if you set your gain at a certain point and you do a pull test before you pull out, and you hit your manual override, and all of a sudden your brakes don't lock up. That's because Ram, the way that they've got the software in this thing, they give you diminished braking below 20 miles an hour. So that's something I didn't know. So again, just some more information for you. Like I said, thanks for joining us. We love you people out there in the RV community. Keep going. Be safe out there and get out and make some memories.